The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
Giving a voice to the voiceless, pulling stories out of the shadows and putting them under the spotlight, making sure that each person is valued and cared for. This is Humanity First with Peter Evers, presented by BAMSI.
Hi everybody, this is Peter Evers with Humanity First, and this week we're going to be talking about services to our elders and what's happening in the first 100 days of the federal government, and how is that going to affect the benefits and the entitlements of the people that we serve in our elder population. We are going to be talking to Jeanne Fuller-Jones, who has been on this program a couple of times. She is one of the more known people in Brockton. She is at the Council on Aging. She's at the Y, doing many fitness classes there, and she's also a member of the BAMSI family as well, and has been on the board and on the advisory board. And we're going to get into this a little bit and talk about what is really going on after the federal government has sort of showered us with what they call shock and awe, with all of these executive orders. Are these being fought? What does this mean for our elder population? And what's the level of anxiety that people have in our communities? And how can people get involved in the process of elders getting together and having fellowship and people volunteering? And so we're going to talk about that when we get right back. So stick around.
Hi, I'm Jamie. I'm an essential worker here at BAMSI, and I'm a nurse. Nurses are essential here at BAMSI because as nurses, we really have the opportunity to make an impact. We have very small ratios, so we have the opportunity to really learn everything about the person served and be able to give the best care. It really serves such a great purpose for me as being a nurse, and really why I came into nursing. Learn more about nursing opportunities at bamsijobs.org.
Giving a voice to the voiceless, pulling stories out of the shadows and putting them under the spotlight, making sure that each person is valued and cared for. This is Humanity First with Peter Evers, presented by BAMSI.
Welcome back, everybody, to Humanity First. As I said at the top of the show, my name is Peter Evers. I'm the host of Humanity First, and we have a regular, I would say, on the show today, Jeanne Fuller-Jones. Jeanne, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on the show again. I think this might be your second time, or maybe even third.
Second time. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and I think we were talking about real estate last time you came on,
yes,
because that is your main gig, right?
Right.
But anybody who knows you, and many people do, and around Brockton know that you do so many different things, and you were on the advisory board at BAMSI and a former board member as well, so thank you for all of that service, but also play a role with the Council on Aging, and that's what I'd like to focus on today, because the first 100 days of the Trump administration are gone, and it's been pretty tough for nonprofits in terms of working out where the money is going to be coming from, what the cuts are going to be. There's been a shock and awe campaign, I think the Trump administration called it, because interestingly enough, that's a war expression, but a shock and awe process on the American people around what entitlements and what benefits and also what services like Medicaid and Medicare are going to be at risk under this new administration. I was thinking about it the other day, and I've been worrying a lot about this, but then I thought, I wonder how our elders are feeling about this. And we chatted a little bit before, and your insights on this are really important. Oftentimes people who reach their elder years are isolated. We do a lot of work here at BAMSI in the tower blocks, and oftentimes people that we see the last person they saw was you a month ago, and that is a life of desperation and isolation. Also creates depression, creates anxiety. I can only imagine how people are feeling at the moment with all of these things, which are questioning people's ability to live in terms of the entitlements that they have. What's going on? What are you hearing out there, Jeanne?
Well, first off, we're thrilled for the Council on Aging to be back on Father Kenny Way in a fabulous new facility. We can do so much more and have so much more room and have more resources available to us because we've got the space to do wonderful things. And people are coming back. people recognize within themselves, a lot of them recognize, I can't stay home alone.
Yeah.
I can't be out. I have to be there. I have to go. I have to be out. One of the members recently lost her husband, didn't see her for a while, and she said, I have to come back. And she's back.
Oh,
she said, if it weren't for this, I'd be sitting in the corner sucking my thumb. And I can't do that. So it's critical. And a lot of people recognize that they need to be out. And they'll recognize that they haven't seen someone for a few weeks. They'll call.
Yeah.
Or reach out to them and say, where are you? And it's interesting that I also am involved at the Y. I have a senior exercise class there. And if I don't see people there, we reach out. And right now, we're all a little nervous because there's a lot of folks we're not seeing. But I just found out the other day, 3 of them are taking a class in school. And I go, okay, that accounts for why they're not there.
Right.
But some of the others will say, but yeah, they can't stay home. They have to come.
Mm-hmm.
You have to come. You can't stay in the corner every day. And right now, people are really uncomfortable. No one knows what's going to be going on. People are, I just talked to a friend the other day. His wife is retiring in the spring. What's going to be there? Mm-hmm. Who knows? We don't know what's going to be there in 6 years. Mm-hmm. And the basic contracts that were written with us 30, 40, 50, 60, 80 years ago are out the window. Yeah. To not be able to know that your grandchildren are going to get a school lunch is scary. So if you're on a fixed income and your rent is tight and everything is a little tight and maybe you're getting the BAMSI brown bag and that's helping you through the month, now your grandkid isn't going to get breakfast and lunch at school next year. Yeah. So you're going to be trying to provide for them too. So it just puts a lot more stress on everyone. Yeah. Which is, it's so unnerving. Yeah. So unnerving. And so many of us whose spouses rely on the VA healthcare system, what's going to happen there? And that's a fabulous system. And you're going to tell 10,000 people you don't need a job next week. So everyone is a little uncomfortable, and everyone who works in those fields is uncomfortable. So the outreach person or the person you call for help at Social Security doesn't know whether or not they can have a job next week.
Right. Yeah, and already some of those things are coming into place. Oftentimes when we talk about, I know we're not talking about Medicaid, but Medicaid is a really interesting example. There is talk of reducing Medicaid by $880 billion. I don't actually realize, I don't understand what that number means, but I know it's big. And one of them is having a work requirement, which would absolutely not work for most people on Medicaid. It would also make it so complicated for the state that people would drop off the rolls. And I think that's the idea, to just have less people receiving that benefit, which makes you think about what the big plan is here. But, I think about, my mom turned 90 on January the 8th. She was exactly the same. She was born the same day as Elvis Presley. So
she's a wonderful person.
Yeah, that's right. She has a birthday with David Bowie. She's kind of famous in herself. Yeah. But she has a pension and she's financially okay. Not really good, but she's worried about the world, and she spends a lot of time watching the news because she's pretty much housebound. She gets out occasionally. But it sort of doubles down on her what is happening with the world, and heightens her level of anxiety. Are you seeing that people are just sort of watching the news and saying this is getting worse and worse? And
I'm seeing a lot of people who are just not watching the news. Mm-hmm. And I'm one of them. Yeah, well, I can't do it. Mm-hmm. I have too many other things on my plate. I know it's a disaster. Mm-hmm. I know it's coming. But right now, I don't have the capacity to get intensely involved the way I would like to in fighting whatever is there or educating people on it and stuff. And so it's really hard. And a lot of my friends have said, yeah, I'm just listening to music. Yeah. I turn it off. Yeah. I'm not watching the TV. Yeah. So it's hard not to shut down and stay involved. So people are saying, I'm just going to put my head down, do what works for me, try to keep myself safe, keep my family safe, and hope to God that in 5 or 6 years, we'll be able to pick up the pieces. Yeah. And that's a sad way to be. But some of my favorite radio shows, I just can't listen to the first hour anymore. I tune in for the last time when they've changed the subject a little or it's music, and then I can listen to it. I'm changing the station and finding more music, because it's just so scary to everyone. And when you're, especially like, maybe you weren't born in this country, but you're legally here. Well, now maybe you are afraid to go back on vacation, like you normally go back to your country for 3 months. You're afraid you're not going to get back in, or they're going to turn you around at the airport. It scares the devil out of anyone of any age. And when you're 65 or 70 or 80, it can be paralyzing.
Right.
And that's the real challenge.
Yeah, I think so. And you know, that paradoxically, you are one of the most busy people I know, and so you're out and about all the time. But then some of those folks that we see at Brown Bag are not going out, and they're listening to the news, and they're hearing all of this stuff. And you know, much of it is, we could almost do a show on, you know, what's the reality of what's going on, because this shock and awe thing is like, we are going to just overwhelm you with information, and we're going to make you so anxious, and it seems that that's one of the tactics that they're dealing with. It is pretty inhumane when, you know, you are dealing with human beings, people who rely on an income stream, who are doing their best. And you know, Vivek Murthy, who was the Surgeon General before this new one, who, you know, that's another conversation, noted that the biggest killer of the elderly is isolation and loneliness.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we, at places like the Y and the Council on Aging and BAMSI, we recognize that. So we are actively reaching out to people to draw them in. At the Council on Aging, our new volunteer coordinator, who just came on board a couple of months ago, or a month or so ago when we opened the new facility, is multilingual. Yeah. In an attempt to really grab a lot of those other folks, because their needs are just as great. Yeah. So when someone comes in for SNAP recertification or fuel assistance recertification or health insurance, whatever, we try to make sure that we're getting everything we can, and say, by the way, there's a knitting group over here on Tuesday afternoon, and there's mahjong, and there's cornhole. So come be involved, or come for lunch. And there's a lot of folks who come for lunch a couple of times a month just to get out of their house. Yeah, it's not a world-class restaurant lunch, but it's a lunch with neighbors, and friends,
breaking bread with friends. How do you reach those folks? I know you do an amazing job at the COA in terms of reaching people, but how do you do that? How do you hear about somebody who might be isolated or lonely?
A lot of it is word of mouth. Yeah. We print, I forget how many thousand copies of our newsletter every month. I saw the other day, I was there, and there were like 8 bins of newsletters ready to be mailed out. But we do outreach with the churches, with the other community organizations. The role of the board, to some extent, is outreach. So we're making outreach to other organizations. Partnering with other folks. The VNA comes in to do blood pressure screening. The neighborhood health center is being involved. So we try to be as collaborative as we can. Now that we're back in downtown and we have our space back, we're really ready to fly. And that was, thank heaven, that was ARPA money. Yeah, that isn't, right. You know, no one's going to take that away. We've already spent it. We built the building. Or rebuilt the building. Fortunately, if that was planned for next year, all bets would be off. Yeah, but it's no money.
It's so nice to have a clean new building, right? Because when somebody walks through the door, I remember years ago I used to work in a detox unit in Roxbury, and it was really, and it was falling down. And as people came in their, you know, worst moments, you know, addressing the disease, they just found a place that needed painting, things were falling off the wall. They got great care, but it was just another like, does society really care about you? The idea of coming to somewhere new and feeling a part of that must be really important for folks.
And it's bright and white and beautiful. Yeah. Everyone said, I didn't expect it to be so bright. And that's what's really important. It's bright, it's airy, there's windows, there's new lighting, electric shades on the windows. We can have line dancing and mahjong and knitting going on at the same time. So it really, trying to reach everyone. And we, with our surveys over the last few years, we saw a lot more need for physical exercise and stuff. So we've really been able to increase that. Yeah. and get people moving and just get them engaged. And that's the challenge. And a lot of it is, well, you're retiring next month. I've been waiting for you to retire for a long time. Come on with me. You're coming to Mahjong next week.
Yeah.
Or knitting. I mean, I've got a great niece who's pregnant. I said, all right, this time I'm going to get that baby blanket made for Natasha. So I'm getting to the crocheting classes again. But it's really, a lot of it is one-on-one, but it's also just really getting out there and spreading the word. So getting as much publicity as possible too.
If somebody wanted to find you, there's a website, I'm assuming.
Absolutely. And our newsletter is in the website.
Yeah.
The Council on Aging is a department of the City of Brockton.
Right.
And staff are employees of the City of Brockton. So through the City of Brockton website, we have the page there. We're also very fortunate that a couple of our staff are very adept at social media. So we're on Facebook and TikTok and all that stuff. Within an hour of something happening. The other afternoon, I said, oh, I was there for knitting this afternoon, and there's knitting. There's a picture already.
Oh, wonderful.
So it's really, it's out there.
Right.
And
so you would go to the City of Brockton's website and then put in
Council on Aging. Yeah.
And then any good search engine will get you there, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How many people are there on a given day?
The other afternoon when I was there for knitting, there were probably a dozen of us in knitting. There were probably 25 or 30 in for lunch. And then as I was leaving, there was another group over there doing Mahjong. And that was just a snapshot of, 1 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon. The line dancing class is pretty well full. Lots of the things fill up, like the St. Patrick's Day luncheon. There was a cap on that. We met that cap pretty easily at 185 people.
Wow.
I think.
Did you have boiled beef and cabbage?
We did, and it was delicious.
Was it really?
It was delicious.
I've never actually had that.
Well, next year I'll invite you.
Okay.
Next year you can be my guest. But they did a nice job. And the caterers said, oh, we'll work in that kitchen any day of the week. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
We have a brand new state-of-the-art kitchen so that we can expand our meal program and so that we can eventually have a little cafe.
Yeah.
So you can have a cup of coffee and a muffin with a friend on a Tuesday morning.
Are there we only have a couple of minutes left, and as usual, Jeanne, when we have these conversations, I look up and there's 15 minutes have already gone. Volunteer opportunities for people at the camp.
Of course. If you want to help serve lunches, there's a whole crew that does that. Our front desk is staffed by volunteers 99% of the time. There's 2 to 3 people there all the time. They're helping welcome people in, give them tours, show them how to use the computer. I'd say we've got a computer lab.
Wow.
6 brand new computers, or 9 brand new computers over there in the corner. So there's plenty of opportunities to get involved there. There's also all those newsletters that go out, get stuffed in envelopes and addressed.
Stuffing. People love that.
There's people who are, and that goes on the whole month long. So, I mean, it's not just when the newsletters come in, the envelopes are already addressed.
Right.
So we're there putting on stickers and everything. That's an ongoing project.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of people's introduction is, well, let me come and do that.
Yeah.
And you sit there and chit-chat with your neighbor while you're putting stickers on an envelope.
Yeah. I was thinking about that, and I never let an opportunity pass in terms of volunteering with the brown bag that we do here at BAMSI, and you're there every month. Yeah. And it's so wonderful. And if folks are interested in doing something early on a third Thursday of the month, we unpack about 19,000 pounds worth of food and put them in about 700 bags.
600 to 700 bags.
And we distribute them to people in the tower blocks around the city of Brockton. And it is, first of all, I was looking the other day, Jeanne, and I did 13,000 steps that morning.
I think I had 10 by the time I got home.
Yeah. And so you get your steps in, you get to meet people, you chit chat while you're packing, the beef tenderloin or whatever it is. And it's just a great experience.
It is so cool. I always say it's just ordinary people coming together, doing ordinary things, creating an extraordinary result. Yeah. And I'm always surprised when someone new comes in, I'll say, well, where is this all going? And then I explain, well, it's 8 o'clock in the morning now, we're filling bags. At 7 o'clock, we were here doubling brown bags. And by 11 o'clock, this is going to be in your grandmother's kitchen.
That's right.
Over Caffrey Towers.
That's right.
Really?
Yeah. And if anybody's interested in, go to BAMSI.org, BAMSI.org, and look for volunteering activities. And you can sign up for one of 4 different shifts, I think, between 11 and 7 o'clock in the morning. And 11.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to miss that out. As we finish, Jeanne, and, many people have written. Michael Foot, who was a politician in England, once said, and I think he was paraphrasing an American actually, but he said, there is no greater measure of a society in how we treat our elders, and we've fallen flat on our faces with that, and I think my country has to be honest with you. It is so lovely to hear that there are organizations that are trying their best to do that, because if we're lucky, all of us, we will be elders, too far away from it right now, and we will be part of that community. And that the more we can build that community, the better we are as a society.
Right. It's one member who was at the advisory council meeting the other night as a guest said, well, I'm going to be 65 next year, so I'm looking forward to going over there and doing things. I said, well, you're old enough now. You can come on in and play with us now.
Come on in. Yeah.
Start coming to line dancing or something.
Yeah, I'm not doing line dancing because...
No, neither am I.
No, but I'll learn to knit, that's for sure.
Come crochet with me. Line dancing was never my forte.
No. But Jeanne, thank you so much for coming in. There is so much more to be said, but there is hope. And, we need to keep fighting for the rights and the livelihood of so many people that rely on us, right?
Absolutely. We need to do it together.
Yeah.
And we need to encourage everyone else to come in, because you can't do anything sitting in the corner sucking your thumb.
That's right.
You have to come back and show up and let your friends do what they do best.
That's right. So get on down to the Council of Aging if you're volunteering or if you want to use the service. Jeanne, thank you so much for coming in. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, everybody. See you next time.